If you find that when you're swimming freestyle and your arm drops down when you go to take a breath, there's 5 main reasons why I find that happens. In this video, I'm going to break down what those 5 reasons are, how you can fix them, so that by the end of this video, you can swim a lot further for less effort and you feel like you've got all the time in the world to get your breath every time you're taking a breath as you're swimming your freestyle.
First thing that I will often look at is the breathing. How are they breathing? Now, the 2 main mistakes that people make here that causes that lead arm to drop is they'll lift their head up well above the water, and that sort of comes from that they end up pressing downwards on the water to lift their head up above the water, and then obviously you're not going to be able to get into that good catch position. So we need to make sure you're not lifting the head up well above the water, and we need to make sure you're looking in the right position. And the right position is straight to the side. So if I'm working with someone, I might get them to look at the lane rope or the side of the pool and try and look there once you've turned your head to the side to breathe. Because sometimes people will look too far behind them or too far in front, and it really just throws their alignment out. And if you think of swimming freestyle and breathing, I like the analogy of imagining like you got like a skewer through your spine and through your neck, and your head is a bit of meat on that skewer. And when you go to breathe, you're just turning the skewer, but it stays aligned on that skewer. So you're turning to the side and coming back. You're not shifting your head way off to the side. Now, with some elite swimmers, I see the head come off to the side a bit, but generally just try and keep it mostly centered, because that's going to keep you better aligned. So we've got to check the breathing first and foremost. Now, the other thing that can help there too is we want to try and keep part of that bottom goggle in the water when we turn to the side. But the other thing is where your mouth is when you breathe. So last week I was working with someone who's in our stroke analysis membership, and we looked at his breathing, and his breathing was like a gasp for air. It was like open mouth, really sort of upper chest breathing. Now what I have got him to do is to just almost like reach around with his mouth off to the side and try and just make it more of a controlled or a steady inhale instead of this big gasp for air, because that's going to cause you to, it makes it difficult to stay calm and relaxed when you're breathing if you do it that way. So we need to make sure we're breathing the right way. So first thing is just breathing. If you have trouble with that, you can do a couple of simple drills. Like in the first week of our 8-week faster freestyle course, we work on some sink down drills just to relax. But if you're looking to just get that breathing position right, side breathing drill with a kickboard is probably your best bet. So if you put some fins on, hold a kickboard out in front, and you can just practice that skewer-like approach to breathing to the side. Now, it's okay if when you first start that you find it difficult and you can't really keep that bottom goggle in. If you need to turn that little bit further, that's okay. But just over time, you'll get more comfortable with it until you can get that split vision that we're looking for. Now, the other thing that we then look at is the rotation through the shoulders. So over rotation is a fairly common problem that I see, particularly on the breathing side. So if we're looking front on at someone swimming towards us, you'll see that for the most part, most good swimmers are 30 to 40 degrees through the shoulders if we measure that shoulder rotation at its furthest point. Now, if you're going past that, and if you're particularly going to 90 degrees through the shoulders, it's very hard to keep that lead arm in front because of the pressure it can put on your rotator cuff, the pressure it can put on the shoulder there. So a lot of people struggle to keep their lead arm in front if they're going to 90 degrees. So we just want to check how far you're rotating through the shoulders as you turn to the side to breathe. Now, often that over rotation is a result of the head turning too far or lifting, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes people will just want to rotate more than what they actually need to. So that's the second thing we want to check in with. And if you are going too far, then what you can do there is just work on reducing that rotation. And like I mentioned in the video last week about how to swim relaxed, one of the things that can help you just get the right amount of rotation is think of rotating your torso. Think of rotating it forwards instead of side to side, because like Carlin Pipe said, we want to be rocking side to side and not rolling side to side. And I think when you think of that as rotating forwards instead of side to side, that's a way that it can help you do that. The third thing that can lead to that lead arm dropping when you breathe is actually the entry of the hand and of the arm into the water. And again, working with a different swimmer in our stroke analysis coaching last week, I had a look at his entry and he was coming over and landing elbow first. And when you're basically landing elbow first, it means that you've essentially fully extended and reached forwards above the water. So by the time you go to get the hand in, you end up pressing straight down because you've got nowhere else to go. It's very hard to then continue reaching forwards in the water, which is what we want to happen when you've done that above. So what we want to work on changing there is making sure you enter fingertips first, elbow up, and then you slide the hand forwards in the water, out in front of the shoulder before you start the catch. Because if you are going elbow first and the hand's just landing in last, you'll find that arm just wants to go straight down to the bottom of the pool. So that's another one we've got to check in with. And another simple drill you can do there with fins and a kickboard is just entry drill. So holding the kickboard out in front, get that hand to come in fingers first, and that kickboard's going to force you to enter early enough so you go fingers first. Because if you overreach, your hand's going to hit the top of the kickboard and you're not going to be able to get that sliding forwards of the hand in the water. So another really simple drill that you can use to check in with that. The fourth thing I'd check in with here is the exit of the opposite hand. So let's say you breathe to the left and it's your right hand that's reaching forwards. We want to have a look at what's happening with this left hand as it's finishing the last part of the pull or the press phase of the stroke. Because a lot of people tend to finish too short there. They come out before their hip. And if you're doing that, then you're not going to get that last bit of propulsion out the back part of your stroke that helps you reach and rotate forwards. So sometimes one of the causes of people not being able to get that lead arm reaching forwards is they've just got no propulsion out the back to be able to actually get it. Because if you don't have it there, it's coming out short and you tend to just fall down, collapse on it a little bit. So we need to make sure that the hand is, number one, pressing back past the hip. So just past the hip. And number two, make sure the palm of the hand is facing behind you nearly all the way back past the hip. Because another common thing we see there is this palm of the hand ends up turning into the body and it's sort of, the hand's almost slicing or cutting throughout the back. So again, just missing out on that propulsion there. Because that press back past the hip works hand in hand with that reach forward and extension out there. And then that's where you get that nice lengthening through the body and through the shoulders. So we've got to check the exit. Now the last thing that I will often check here is what's happening with that arm as it's going forwards. We want to look at what we call the starting catch position, where we want to have this very slight downwards angle. And primarily looking for, is the wrist dropped as they're reaching forward? So sometimes if people are reaching forwards, this wrist is dropped, they're like that, and that elbow's dropped down, then it doesn't really lead to being able to continue reaching forwards, because with a dropped elbow, dropped wrist, that arm just wants to go straight down. So we've got to make sure that our lead arm is in the right position and in the right shape. And so that's having the fingers below the wrist below the elbow in a very slight downwards angle there. Because if it's the opposite with the elbow lower than the wrist lower than the fingers, then it's very hard to continue reaching forwards there in the correct way. So we want to make sure that's happening. Now, just as a side note, as a bit of a bonus there, the other thing we can sort of look at is, where is this shoulder as you're reaching forward? So with good freestyles, you'll see this shoulder is somewhere up near the cheek. Not on the cheek, but near the cheek. So it ends up staying up there through that reach phase. Now, with swimmers who are new to the sport, sometimes we find that that just is dropped down. It's not near the cheek. It ends up being well below it. And again, it's one of those finer details that's worth checking in with. So there's a drill you can do, something like shoulder to cheek scoop drill, which you may have seen on our other videos before, where this will encourage you to, or force you basically, to keep that shoulder up near the cheek as you're going through this catch motion. Now in that drill, that shoulder's probably a bit too close to the cheek. You wouldn't actually want to keep it that close, but it's a great way just to get a feel for that rough position that we're trying to get into. So if you follow that checklist, you can see whether or not you're doing each of those things, and that can help you keep that lead arm out in front. Now, the very final thing you could do here, let's say you just didn't want to, you didn't want to go through any of that and just like, what's the quick fix, or what's a way that I could get this sorted without having to think too much about it. Well, if you want to just try something, quickly, one of the things that's worked with a few of the swimmers that I work with is just really think of holding the glide or reaching forwards for about twice as long as what they expect. So exaggerating that reach out in front or that glide out in front. Now, for example, I'm thinking of one of the swimmers that I coach online when he sends me videos. We were having trouble with him getting a good catch. He was just sort of, that arm was dropping down. He was too straight with the arm and he was always going too deep. So what he had to do was exaggerate how long he felt like he was reaching forwards for by about twice as much. So I said to him, okay, next video that you send me, I want you to exaggerate it to the point where you think this is way too much. This is way too much glide out in front, and just send it and we'll see what happens. And when he did that, it was the right amount. And his timing was actually a lot better. The catch was a lot better. And then over the course of about 3 or 4 weeks, he was able to basically fix it. And it's so much better now. So that's kind of like the quick fix approach. Won't work for everyone, but for some swimmers, we found that to basically just fix it pretty quickly. So a couple of ways that you can go about it. I know this is a longer video, but sometimes these things require a bit more detail than others. So hope you enjoyed the video. And if you do enjoy this stuff, check out the Effortless Swim membership. There's 14 days free. Have a look at the 8-week faster freestyle course inside there, because that is what most of our members are going through at the moment, and we're getting some really good results there. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this with anyone you know who's trying to improve their swimming. And I'll be back with another video next week.